Here we are with Annie Duke. Many people are calling this the year of the woman in poker, and you had a big part of that with your win in the NBC Heads Up tournament. What do you think about all the ladies doing so well in open tournaments this year?
Women aren't any slouches. I mean, when you look at the percentage of women that are actually entering major events versus like how many of them are making final tables and doing well, we actually do better than our statistical expectation. I think that's because women who decide that they want to do this as a career, there's a lot more barriers to entry for women than men, so the women who choose to do it I think tend to be, in general, a little better. But I'm really proud of what's been going on this year. You know, obviously I've been a big booster for women in poker, and I got to lead off with the NBC, and then Vanessa Selks, of course, with Mohegan Sun, and then Liv Baree, who, by the way, was a student of mine, so that was really cool. I gave her lessons like 2 years ago. She won San Remo, so hopefully it'll continue into the World Series by me. No. But no, if any woman does well in the World Series, I'm going to be really happy. But I just think it's really cool for women to be able to sort of represent and show that, yes, we do actually know how to play poker,
And you also know how to play other games. You appeared on the Celebrity Apprentice last year.
Yeah.
And the general consensus was that you pretty much got screwed losing to Joan Rivers in the finals. What do you think about that whole experience?
I'm not the first person to get screwed by Donald Trump, I'm sure. Let's be honest. So, it would be ridiculous for me to say that the experience wasn't good in the sense that I went on there specifically to raise money for charity, and I did that in spades. So I raised $750,000 for a charity that I really care about. I set a record for the show, so I feel like I acquitted myself well, and that made the experience worthwhile. Were there things about it that I didn't enjoy? Yes, Joan Rivers mainly, but it would be weird. It's like, what am I supposed to say? Like, would I change if I could help people who are actually experiencing genocide by raising $750,000 to them, and in the process have to be compared to Hitler? Would I take that even if you told me that up front? Yes. Right? So I felt it was ironic that the money I was raising for was actually for something that is genocide, and being compared to one of the people who perpetrated the worst mass genocide, of the 20th century. I thought was some irony in that, but I certainly would have taken that even if I had known that up front. So it was what it was, and I was happy with how I did on the show.
I don't know about the transition from genocide to the UIGEA coming in next week. Do you think anything will change before June 1st deadline?
I don't think anything's going to change legislatively before June 1st. If it does, that'll be a very happy surprise. I know that there are some people who have been certainly writing the Treasury to try to get that delayed, but I don't think it will happen. As far as processing goes, I don't think it's going to be much change. I think that the sites are pretty well set up. Certainly they've known about this for a long time, so they've had a long time to get their ducks in the row as far as money transactions, and I think that everybody should still feel very safe with their money on the North American facing sites. So, their stance is that it's not illegal. My stance is certainly that it's not illegal. UIGEA is not a law about whether it's legal to play. It's just a law about banking, and American banks in particular. And the sites have set themselves up so they're not using American banks, and I think that I don't think that the user experience is going to change very much. I don't think they're going to see a difference.
And the site that you represent just had an encryption issue about 2 weeks ago and a cheating scandal about 2 years ago. Why do you think people should play on that site instead of some of the other options right now?
Well, basically what happened with the recent encryption issue is that there was a problem with a level of encryption that actually would have been very difficult for somebody to exploit as far as actually use it, because they would have had to also hack somebody's home network. That being said, obviously no one wants to have those kinds of encryption issues, but I think that what you have to look at is, are you comfortable with the kinds of responses that the sites give? So the fact is that we're talking about technology, and there are always going to be issues because there's technology involved. But what you want is a site that responds to it quickly, acknowledges it, is very open about the problem, and does the right things in terms of fixing it. And I think that UB did all of those things very nicely in the last 2 weeks. And in fact, one of the things that I was saying to somebody is that there's no question that the response of the old management that was running Absolute Poker to the issue with Pot Ripper was ridiculous. And I mean, like, ridiculous beyond belief. Like, to deny it and do all those things in the previous management. This is the first time that this management has had an issue where you could actually see the way that they were going to respond to something like this. And I've put a lot of faith in this new management. I've certainly put my reputation on the line with this new management. And I was extremely happy to see the response that they had, because it's exactly the kind of response that I would expect from somebody who was the type of people that I thought that they were. Because they literally were just like, here's the link to the article, here's the problem, yes, it's a problem, here's how we're fixing it, we're going to do this all out in the open, there's no denial, and it was fixed. And when you look at, like, one of the things that I always admired about Full Tilt was their kinds of responses to these issues as well. And, they had a huge bot problem a while ago, and they had the same response. Guess what? We have a huge bot problem. We're going to fix it. We acknowledge it. We're not trying to hide it. This is what we're doing to try to get the bots off our site. And I always thought that should really be the standard of behavior in terms of the way that sites respond to these kinds of issues. And I think that people just need to realize it's technology. There's going to be issues. People are going to be trying to crack these things all the time. So I'm glad that they have the extra layer of encryption in it. It's very secure. We have people auditing it, including the people who originally cracked the encryption in the first place to make sure that everything is secure. And like I said, I was just very happy with the response.
And the World Series is about a week away, and the Department of Justice has been picking up the pace with going after processors. Is there any whispers of anything going on at the World Series?
Not that I know of. What I can say is there was certainly one article that referenced my brother in particular that I can assure everybody was a bunch of hooey. So I think I would know he's my brother. I think there was a lot of panic about that particular article from the Financial Times, but it wasn't well vetted, and there were some things behind that where it was not the most unbiased piece of journalism that you'll ever see, let's put it that way. So as far as I know, there's nothing really planned, and everybody is safe and secure, and everybody still maintains the stance that this is a completely legal activity. It's a game of skill. It's still the case that you should just check the statutes of your state that you live in and make sure it's legal within the statute of your state. And depending on your interpretation, that's going to be between like 25 and 38 states where it's totally legal. And just make sure you're comfortable with your local jurisdiction. But UIGEA doesn't impact the player, and people should just remember that.
And who is the best poker player in the family?
Oh, in my family? Definitely not my father. You know what? Honestly, and I say this every single time, it depends on the game. I think it's hard to say, like, overall poker player. I think my brother's much better than me at some games, and I'm better than him at other games, and that's kind of as it should be. If I had to pick, like, who was sort of better overall, I have to say my brother. He's older than me, and he's bigger than me, and he can beat me up.
Well, thanks a lot for your time, Andy. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.